Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the British Formula 4 iRacing Trophy. It's the second race night of Season 2 of this series, and we are bringing you all of the action this evening from the Snetterton 300 circuit. And if the action we had a week ago was anything to go by, I think we're in for a pair of absolutely cracking races around this 3-mile circuit. This evening we had at the start of the season at Donington Park a week ago, and that produced two action-packed races with the same winner both times out, but I don't think that we'll be handing this iRacing trophy over to any one driver just yet, because with 6 races still to go, it is still all up for grabs, even if one or two early season favourites are starting to emerge already. Well, my name is Andy McEwen, up here in the commentary box to talk you through all of the action tonight. And as you can see on your screens, practice well underway here at Snetterton. In fact, it has been for quite some time. I've been watching along as the drivers have been getting themselves up to speed ahead of the 2 races this evening. And the time's already looking suitably tight. So I think we're in for a pair of pretty close races. Certainly that's exactly what we had last time at Donington Park. The first 2 races of Season 2 of the British Formula 4 iRacing Trophy were absolute crackers. The first one was won by Luke Browning, who we're following now on screen, and he dominated it, quite frankly, qualified on pole position for that first race at Donington. Still the only driver ever to have qualified on pole for any F4 iRacing Trophy qualifying session. It's a remarkable qualifying record that he has. He led every lap of that first race and went on to take the victory. The real battling in that first race of the season was taking place behind him amongst people like Alex Palau and with people like Roman Belinsky not too far behind him as well. It was Kayaski that was really challenging for a good result in that first race. A little bit of netcode contact between he and Palau, though, sent him spinning into the pit lane. That allowed Belinsky to come through and challenge Palau. They swapped positions a few times, and at the end, it was Browning that won from Belinsky second and Alex Palau in third position in that first race, whilst in the Pro Sim class, because there are 2 classes of competition this time around, the Pro class for real-world racing drivers and the Pro Sim class for people that excel on this in particular iRacing platform that we're using, and the 2 separate classes both had some fierce competition. But in the first race at Donington, it was Alex Palau, who, of course, these days we see racing not only in sim racing, but very successfully over in American single-seater racing in IndyCar. Alex Palau, who won the sim class in that first race at Donington. Then in the second race, the full reverse grid race, it was a pole position for Joseph Loke, with Luke Browning forced to start all the way down in 27th place. The second race of the night will always feature a full reversed grid, so all of the finishers from race 1 are flipped upside down to form the grid for race 2. So whilst Loke was on pole, Browning had it all to do from the back of the grid. And do it he did. He carved his way through the order, taking advantage of some really exciting racing and a few bits of contact in the midfield to move into the top 6 by the end of lap number 2. And from there, he slowly but surely picked them off one by one, reeling in the race-long leader, Dan Blake, with just under 5 minutes to go, and taking the lead from him with just a couple of laps to go, with Pablo Lopez moving through into second place on the final lap. It was still a brilliant podium result, though, for the Year 1 racing driver Dan Blake, who came home third overall and second in the Pro Sim class behind Pablo Lopez. So after 2 topsy-turvy races at Donington Park, the early points definitely are advantage Luke Browning. He scored the maximum points haul over those first 2 races. 50 points, therefore, is his tally, arriving here at Snetterton, with Roman Belinsky second on 33 and Georgi Dimitrov for Richardson Racing in third position, with Kayaski fourth and Frederick Lubin in 5th place. And that's 5 different teams represented in the top 5 Pro Class drivers standings. In the Pro Sim class, Team Fordzilla, Ford's official esports team, we're very happy to have them on board for Season 2 of the F4 iRacing Trophy. Well, they did quite a lot of winning at Donington Park, with Alex Palau winning race 1 in the Pro Sim class, Pablo Lopez winning race 2. It's Lopez that has the points advantage, 40 points for Pablo, with Alex Palau second on 35. Alex Johnson for the Alcantech Simulation XFF team is third on 23, with the third of the Fordzilla drivers, Julian Rodriguez, joint fourth in fact, on 18 points, joint fourth with Dan Blake for Year 1 Racing and Leon Penn for the Vulcan Sim Racing team. So lots to unpack after the first 2 races of the season at Donington Park, and to help me do that and to help me talk through all of the action tonight, I'm delighted to be joined once more by the press officer for the British Formula 4 Championship, Damien Meaden, who was alongside me a week ago as well and will continue to be so for the rest of this season. And Damien, it's taken me almost a week, I think, to process everything that happened at Donington. There were 2 fantastic races. The second race in particular was really thriller-minute stuff, and I think that's really set the scene quite nicely for the rest of the season to come.
Yep, evening Andy, evening everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really appreciated. And you're right, Andy, a week ago at Donington Park, it really did blow the cobwebs away. It was a fantastic start to the season. As you've already gone through, we had 2 excellent races, some fantastic overtakes, some really daring ones. I'm still trying to get over that move around the outside of the old hairpin. And here's hoping we have more of the same this week. It's a very tight technical circuit, Snetterton, a little bit different to Donington Park in its characteristics, but I'm sure we're in for another great night nonetheless.
Yeah, it's the full 300 layout that's in use, as would be in use in the real-world British Formula 4 Championship, of course, and it is one that tends to produce good racing, but for slightly different reasons, maybe, than we see good racing at Donington Park. At Donington, it's all about momentum, high-speed corners, getting the run off that corner to maybe try to tag into the next, whereas Snetterton is a little bit more stop-start, but you've still got these long straights into big braking zones. You've got the Senna straight past the pits, through Riches and into the Wilson hairpin, which is one of the best overtaking opportunities, and also the long run down the Bentley straight into Brundle and Nelson as well. There are places you can overtake, but it's always a little bit of a gamble, a little bit of a risk to take that momentum and dive through under braking. I think we will still see plenty of overtaking over the 2 races this evening, though. Damien, your thoughts after Donington Park then? It certainly was a dominant start points-wise from Luke Browning, wasn't it? But I don't think he's going to have it all his own way. There were quite a few challenges that sort of presented themselves to Luke over the course of the 2 races at Donington. And whilst he was able to get the better of them then, I think there are drivers that will continue to be a thorn in his side tonight, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on what you were saying about circuit characteristics, we saw how important getting a slipstream was at Donington Park last week. The toe, absolutely massive. And of course, at Snetterton, you've got 2 quite long straights here, in particular, the Bentley straight round the back. So I think tonight, breaking clear of the group and building a gap and being able to keep people at arm's length is going to be really crucial. But I think before that, qualifying, which will be coming up shortly, that's going to be really tricky, because this is a circuit where if you get one corner wrong, that then compromises you for the next one, which then puts you a bit out of shape for the one after. You can chain 3-4 corners together here, and your lap time can quite quickly get away from you. So they've really got to be on it. They've really got to concentrate. I'm not really a betting man, but obviously Luke Browning's reputation would suggest he's going to be at the front there or thereabouts. But I think during the races, we didn't see an awful lot of him pulling away last week. It has to be said, he really took his opportunities. Whenever anybody gave him just a little bit of room to get away, he absolutely took it. And that's why he won both races. It's why he's got the full point score. But I think tonight it's going to be a tough ask to be able to get away from people in the same way, just because of the effect that toe is going to have.
Yeah, I mean, that first race, even at Donington, where he started on pole position, he wasn't really going anywhere until Palau and Askey had their little netcodey contact up at McLean's, and that sort of allowed Browning, as you said, to break the toe, and then he was able to get his head down and start pulling away. But until that point, I don't really think he was going to have it all his own way. A couple of new drivers to draw your attention to ahead of tonight's races. This is one of them, Matthew Reese, in the JHR Development car. Matthew making his first appearance in the F4 iRacing Trophy this evening. Several years of karting experience, but I know that he's hoping to move into single-seaters in the near future. An exciting new name to have on the grid, isn't he, Damien?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the great things about the iRacing Trophy. You know, we can use it as an opportunity to bring in some stars from other areas of motorsport. It's a chance to bring in some of the great sim racing community who have really embraced and gotten behind this program. It's a great chance for our current drivers to get involved. It's a good chance for our current champion to get involved, but it's also a really good chance to get some of the drivers we're hoping to see on the real world grid in the future involved. And it just means that we can get as many different people from as many different talented areas of the sport in on the same grid. So it's fantastic to see him here.
Yeah, Matthew Reese then in for tonight's races, but sadly one driver we won't be seeing tonight is quite a significant one as well. It's Roman Belinsky, second in the championship and second place in that first race, remember, at Donington a week ago. He sadly can't be with us tonight. He'd love to be, I'm sure, but he's a little bit busy with real-world testing, of course. We are slowly but surely gearing up for the albeit slightly delayed start to the 2021 season, but it is, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things, only just around the corner. So Roman, I believe he was at Alton Park today testing. Couldn't have picked a better racetrack to go testing at, I must say. And as a result, won't be with us tonight, but he is hoping to join us again for the final 2 race nights of the season. And that, Damien, does rather change the complexion of the championship, doesn't it? Because if you delete Roman Belinsky from the points, in the pro class at least, that gives Luke Browning a 25-point cushion over his nearest rival, who is actually in attendance tonight, which would be Georgi Dimitrov in third at the moment in the points. So how do you think that changes Luke's mindset coming into these races? Because although we've only had 2 races of the season, we're ticking towards the midway point of the season now, and he's actually got, on the face of it, quite a healthy cushion.
Yep, knowing Luke, I don't think that changes his mindset whatsoever, if I'm honest. I think he's still just going to be going for max score from each race and getting as many points as he can. But you're right, it's a big night for the other drivers. They've really got to make some progress, and I think that reverse grid race is going to be absolutely crucial. We saw last week that there's always going to be a little bit of chaos, particularly at the start. Whoever thought putting 30-odd until RF3 cars in the same physical space was a good idea, I don't know. But yeah, it's all going to be about that. So I think there's every chance if Browning hits trouble in the reverse grid race, that gap could close. But like you say, the likes of Dimitrov and Askey, they've still got to make sure they're in the right place at the right time to take advantage of that. But yeah, no, as far as Browning goes, I'm sure his mindset is going to be the same as it is normally with iRacing. Get the pole, get the first win, see what he can salvage from race 2.
And so far tonight, that's looking fairly likely. With just under 3 minutes left of the practice session, he is fastest by half a second. And now, I was about to start saying nice things about Georgi Dimitrov, and then he threw himself at the scenery coming out of Coram. But the Richardson racing car running with an all-black livery tonight, but it is they're going to actually be unveiling their real Formula 4 livery tomorrow, I believe. So keep an eye on Richardson's social media pages tomorrow, and indeed the Formula 4 social media pages as well, where I'm sure it will be making an appearance too. Exciting time. We've got a bit of a sneak preview of that earlier on. It looks very, very nice indeed. So Richardson with some announcements up and coming. It's an exciting time of the year, isn't it, Damien? It's not just for, I'm sure, the F4 Championship, but motorsport in general. We're getting these pre-season announcements coming in thick and fast, and even in the time in the last week since we last spoke at Donington Park, virtually at least, there's been lots of new announcements coming out of the world of British Formula 4, haven't there?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Roman Belinsky a few minutes ago, who, as you say, would like to be here this evening to really take the challenge to Browning and co. But as you say, real world testing. How dare he? How dare he? No, it absolutely has to come first. And on Friday, some very exciting news. He was announced as a Carlin driver for 2021. So second season on the package for him. Switching teams, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. But yeah, exciting news for him, and also for the Carlin team. Another announcement coming in tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So we're giving you lots of things to fill your diary with here, but that's another one to look out for. Keep an eye on all of our social pages and our website tomorrow morning to find out who else will be in the team with him.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be a really exciting year in the Formula 4 British Championship, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what sort of a grid you have for the opening rounds of the season later this year. Julian Rodriguez here, racing for the Team DUX gaming team. Another different livery on this car, although for slightly more somber reasons. It's an all-black livery adorning all 3 of the Team DUX gaming cars. Julian Rodriguez, David Castilla, and Thomas Pintos, all of whom were pretty rapid last time at Donington Park, it must be said. The black livery is in honour of the late Adrian Campos, who we sadly lost in the last week. Adrian was a name synonymous with, well, single-seater racing in particular, I suppose, but will be greatly missed by all of those in the motorsport community. And Team DUX doing their little bit here to pay tribute to a man, Damien, who has done so much for motorsport, but single-seater racing in particular.
Yeah, an absolutely fantastic contribution to the motorsport community, and somebody who's really going to be dearly missed. You know, Adrian leaves a fantastic legacy behind, a fantastic team as well, who I know are going to want to do so well in not just this season, but in the years ahead for him as well. And it's an incredibly sad time. But obviously, everybody at British F4, sends their thoughts and their well wishes to, his family, his friends, his colleagues. But yeah, truly a brilliant person, a brilliant member of our motorsport community, and dearly missed. So rest in peace, Adrian.
Yeah, absolutely. And our thoughts go out to all of those who knew him, and I'm sure are missing him dearly already. Well, the free practice session then here at Snetterton is complete. We are moving now into the qualifying session, and this sort of unique to iRacing format of a 10-minute lone qualifying session. For those who are perhaps new to iRacing, or in particular this championship, a lone qualifying session is basically, it does what it says on the tin, really. The drivers get to go out on circuit on their own to complete as many laps as they can within the 10-minute window. They're all in their own little pocket of virtual space. So they're all qualifying at the same time, but not occupying the same physical racetrack. It means that traffic isn't such an issue. You're not going to get your lap hampered by slower cars or yellow flags and things like that. You get 10 minutes, you get a fresh set of tyres, and the qualifying setup now well and truly bolted on to these Dallara Formula 3 cars. We're using the Dallara Formula 3 car because the British F4 car, unfortunately, is one of the few cars not available on iRacing at the moment, but the Dallara car with its 2-litre engine, producing about 240 brake horsepower, is a brilliant tool for learning your single-seater racing craft, and it is a car that's been producing some really good racing, especially with this updated iRacing, or the latest raft of updates from iRacing a few weeks ago now, which have really improved the ability to run close behind another car. The slipstream effect is stronger, the dirty air, the turbulent air is not quite such a factor, and that I think is definitely going to play its part across the two races tonight. Despite that, though, Damien, you still want to start as far up the grid as you can, regardless of how easy it is or isn't to overtake. The closer to the front you start, the better your prospect of a good result is, if nothing else, because you're perhaps less likely to get involved in some of the midfield shenanigans that we did see on occasion breaking out at Donington.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw last week that it doesn't really matter where you start on the grid. You still have a good chance of making progress and getting good results. Even if we take Luke Browning's 27th to the win completely out of the equation in race 2, you had some drivers, Marin Kramer's, for example, immediately springs to mind, just really making some amazing progress through the field. Really pulling lots of really great clean moves and justly rewarded for it. So, like you say, you always want to be near the front in qualifying. We're thinking 4 laps tonight is roughly what they're going to be able to fit in this 10-minute session. So a little bit fewer than Donington. So you've really got to make each lap count. As we see Alex Jonsson now just making his way around the newer infield section of the circuit. I say newer; it's the newest of the 3 layouts that Snetterton has. So yeah, it's going to be crucial to get it right. And as I say, momentum around a qualifying lap here is of the utmost importance. You really need to hit your apexes and get every corner, every braking zone, every throttle input right. So yeah, I guess settle back, and over the next 7 minutes, we'll see who can come out on top.
It's just dawned on me that the sort of revamped Snetterton layout, this infield section that we're utilising tonight, was built 10 years ago. Where have those 10 years go? It does not seem like a whole decade.
No, don't go there. Don't go there. I prefer not to think about that.
A depressing thought, isn't it? But anyway,
young yet, Andy.
Yes, well, I tried to be. Yes, it does, however, has proven to be fairly popular with drivers and spectators alike, because it does offer lots of overtaking opportunities. And for a driver, it's a real challenge to hook that middle sector together, as Damien was saying earlier on. One mistake can completely ruin your lap time, and then it's another minute and a half before you can start another one. So you need to be on it here with so few opportunities to go out and set a time. Well, Luke Browning, then championship leader, double winner from Donington Park. I mean, he should end up on pole position, really, shouldn't he? Certainly the statistics, the history books tell us that he should end up on pole position. He has so dominated these qualifying sessions over a season and a bit now of Formula 4 iRacing trophy competition, but there are challenges, and this could be one of them. Julian Rodriguez, who was second fastest in practice earlier on, but he makes a mistake down at Agostini, missed his braking point there, got onto the dirty side of the road, And that's exactly what I was saying. This lap now is completely ruined, and he's going to have to improve on maybe one or possibly two more laps that he'll have time to complete. It's Browning quickest at the moment. Mackenzie Creswell is second in the number 30 car with one of the JHR development drivers. Matthew Crisp is third, Kevin Zempstra fourth, and James Headley, who was involved in a start line incident in the second race at Donington a week ago, currently rounds out the top five. Frederick Lubin we're following now. Frederick had an interesting time at Donington, didn't he, Damien? That second race in particular promised much, didn't it? He was in that lead battle on the first lap. He got the race lead halfway around the first lap, and then, well, things didn't quite go to plan, did they?
Yeah, no, I think I saw on his social media that he did have a spin, and he was saying that was due to reading his Twitch chat at the time. So I suppose that's an occupational hazard of streaming online racing nowadays. You certainly wouldn't get that in the real world, but I don't know. There's something quite great about that, I think, in its own way. And Frederick going really well here, up into P4. Incidentally, if you're wondering what the colours on the left-hand side of your screen denote, the black ones are pro drivers. Andy obviously mentioned before about our dual class setup here, and the more minty green coloured ones are in the pro sim class. So if you're wanting to keep track of where your favourite is in relation to the other drivers they're scoring points against, then that's how to tell them apart.
And if you cast your eyes to the left-hand side of the screen in that timing tower, you'll see that Luke Browning is not first, he's not second, he's not third, he's not even in the top five at the moment. 8th position now is Luke Browning, but I think he's not that far away from... In fact, no, he's completed his second lap, so a little bit more pace to be found here maybe for Luke. We're on board with Frederick Lubin, though, going down the Bentley Straight. He currently sits in 5th position, just half a second off Mackenzie Creswell, who is now fastest in the session. Pablo Lopez second, Alex Palau third, so that's two of the Team Fordzilla drivers, second and third. And then fourth place is Leon Penn in the number 31 car. Leon with the Vulcan Sim Racing team, again, one of our pro sim drivers, rounding out the top five ahead of Kayaski, who is sixth, seventh Ashley Beard, eighth for Browning, ninth Zempstra, and 10th for Dimitrov. Here is the number 18 car of Luke Browning then. This is his third lap of the session. He is down in 8th place and needs to find just over half a second to jump to pole position. He crosses the line, the timing will update, and surprise, surprise, he goes fastest, a 1 minute 37.224, and that's it. That's his session done. He can go no quicker, so that is the benchmark for the others to try and beat. The next one across the line is Kayaski. He's down in 8th place and should be one of the challengers, you'd think, based on his pace a week ago. He does improve, but only to 6th position and almost a full second away from the top times. Georgi Dimitrov has managed only 11th before heading back to the pit lane. This is not the grid I expected to have. I know there are still a few drivers out there on hot laps, but with the exception of Browning and Palau maybe at the front of the field, the order behind them is not necessarily what I'd have predicted.
No, but I tell you what, I'm looking forward to Browning versus Palau round 2. We started to see that battle forming last week, and they were having some really excellent racing. So those two on the front row will be interesting. And like we were saying, that 3/10 gap is, not small, but for a lap of this length and with the slipstream that we've already mentioned, I think that's a fairly reasonable effort. Everybody's more or less on a par, so it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up in race trim.
Yes, now this is Julian Rodriguez, who has not yet set a truly representative time. I think he's had some lap times, or at least one lap time, disallowed for exceeding track limits. So he is currently down in 25th position. There are one or two that haven't yet set a time, Matthias Zagazeta being one of them, who is still in the pit lane. But Julian Rodriguez needs to find quite a lot of pace here, really, and it doesn't look as though he's going to improve too much on this lap because he runs wide again going through Oggies. It's very, very easy to do, but the Team Fordzilla squad, who are doing so well with Alex Palau and Pablo Lopez towards the top of the timing sheets, Julian Rodriguez, is struggling a little. Here's Dan Blake coming across the line, 18th at the moment for the Year 1 racing driver, who finished third in a sensational reverse grid race performance at Donington a week ago. 18th is where he stays as the session completes, and we have had one improvement towards the front as well. Mackenzie Creswell splitting now. The other two Team Fordzilla drivers goes third behind Alex Palau, but ahead of Pablo Lopez. Kayaski also improves in 6th position. I'm not sure if that was an improvement in position, but certainly a new personal best lap time set by Kayaski. And now I think most of our expected front runners have completed their session. Joseph Loke, I can see, he has seen the checkered flag as well, so he's going to round the session out in 13th with Georgi Dimitrov 12th. So again, a few surprises perhaps to be found in the midfield. Julian Moreno comes through, and this will be his third lap of the session, so he's got one more. Yeah, he's got time for one more here. 20 seconds left on the clock. That lap time was also disallowed, so he's still down in 25th. We ride on board then with Julian Rodriguez, and is he going to be able to move up off the bottom of the field? Certainly you'd expect him to, wouldn't you, Damien?
Yeah, crucial lap now. He needs to really hit all of his points. So tricky on a circuit like this to get everything right. The checkered flag has come out, so I don't know that he'll be able to complete that last lap, Andy. I think that's the grid.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So as soon as the time does tick down to 0, that's it, session over. So no time for him to improve. He'll be at the back of the grid, therefore. At the front of the grid, though, will be Luke Browning. Keeps that remarkable qualifying record going with another pole position. Alex Palau, second place, though. That is a really tasty battle already shaping up between those two. Mackenzie Creswell and Pablo Lopez make up the second row ahead of Ashley Beard and Kai Askey. Leon Penn and Frederick Lubin are on row 4 ahead of Kevin Zemstra and Roldan Rodriguez, with Matthew Crisp and Georgi Dimitrov, one to watch, I think, from the 6th row of the grid. Row number 7 then is where we find Joseph Loke alongside Thomas Pintos. Then it's Callum Brandt and Alex Johnson, with David Castilla, Dan Blake, Nathaniel Hodgkiss and James Headley rounding out the top 20. Matthew Reese is next on his debut in the championship, with Reese Saunders alongside on the 11th row. Marion Kramer's out of position, I'd say, down on the 12th row with Jaco Platt alongside him. And then towards the very back of the grid now, we have 25th on the grid will be Julian Rodriguez, with Joel Evans alongside him. Then it will be Silas Craig-Frolic, Ryan Micallef, Matthias Zagazeta at the back of the grid. Graham Sessford is not on the grid. He is our producer for this evening's broadcast, and will be hopefully keeping us, giving us a good view of some of the action that is about to break out, because race number 1 of the night is just a few moments away. Damien, very quickly, another Luke Browning win, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if it will be that straightforward. I think we're in for a good race, whatever happens. So fingers crossed. And of course, for the drivers, just to quickly say that qualified a bit further back than they'd have liked. Obviously, the reverse grid later gives them another shot at it. But this one is going to be fascinating. So let's settle in for it.
Indeed. Right then, here we go. Luke Browning and Alex Palau together on the front row of the grid. The red lights are about to go on. When they go out, we will be racing for round number 3 of the British Formula 4 iRacing Trophy. Away they go, and it's a good start made from Palau on the outside of row number 1. He draws level with Luke Browning on the run towards Rich's corner, but it's a right-hander, so Browning has the inside line. Is he going to hold on to the lead? Yes, he will. Palau slots into 2nd, Creswell 3rd, and I think Pablo Lopez is still 4th. There's a car off heavily in the background. There's pandemonium quick out of Rich's corner. Cars off everywhere. I think both of the Year 1 racing drivers are involved, and that is going to take quite a bit of clearing up, I think, as around, well, who's dropped to the back? Zagazeta's at the back, Roldan Rodriguez. Joseph Lope was involved in that too. Zagazeta was the number 1 car that we saw who was pointing the wrong way. Unsurprisingly, I think we're going to see the safety car scrambled after that, because that was a fairly significant shunt. Drivers weaving around as they try to get some more heat into the tyres. Drama straight away then, Damien, but Browning did hold on to the lead. I have to say, though, Palau certainly kept him honest into the first corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Browning pushed all the way by Palau there. I don't even know where to begin when dissecting what went on at the back there. We're just looking at some onboards now from one of the Year 1 racing cars. I wonder whether they're going to have a good view of what happened, but absolute pandemonium. But this is exactly what we said. You qualify at the front. Now I'm looking, it looked like there's some net code in there, certainly on 1 or 2 of the incidents. But like you said at the start, if you qualify at the front, you're out of the way of any potential carnage that might go on at turn 1. So far so good for Luke Browning, but he's got a couple of tough customers behind him.
Now that is Alex Johnson, I think. Yeah, Joseph Loke was collected, but I think that's Johnson maybe who just triggers a little bit of contact in front, and Loke completely innocent. He was the car that I saw exiting stage left very, very rapidly, but then there's a secondary impact as the rest of them try to avoid. You can see the Fordzilla car there of Rodriguez, who was disappearing off to the left-hand side of the road as well. The trouble with Snetterton is that it is a very, very narrow circuit, as Jaco van der Plaat there recovers with relatively little damage, I think. But it's a very narrow circuit, and when something goes wrong in front of you, there's just nowhere you can go. You know, you're going through Rich's corner, it's a quick corner, you're 2 and 3 wide, and suddenly all you can see in front of you is tyre smoke and bodywork flying through the air. And at that point, Damien, really, it's in the lap of the gods, isn't it, as to whether you get through that in one piece or whether your race is effectively over before it's begun.
Yeah, it's an absolute roll of the dice. You just have to breathe in, pick a side, and hope that no car's going to try and occupy the same physical space. Now, safety car deployed. Worth noting, every car gets one fast repair. So all of those cars that have had that incident at turn one, however innocently they've been caught up in it, they will get a fast repair so they can fix the cars, join up at the back of the queue. So their race is not over, which is the good news, and it gives them a chance to try and fight their way back through when we do get underway again.
Yeah, I've had people ask me that in the past, actually, that people have said, what's the point in having a safety car in a virtual race? Well, that is a part of it is for the authenticity of it, but the other part is to allow those that have fast tracked back to the pits and they're making good use of their fast repair. It's to allow them to sort of close back in on the pack. One of the year one racing cars there doesn't have a rear wing. You'd almost think that they could benefit from using their fast repair. That is there's another one there. There's a couple, isn't there? That's Matthew Crisp, who has lost his rear wing, and it's Reese Saunders in front of him in the year one car, who has also sustained rear damage. The other year one racing car, Dan Blake, qualified well in 18th. He's up to 14th place, so he actually gained out of that. Some of the other big winners, Silas Cragg-Vrolik, started outside the top 20, well, he started 27th on the grid, moved up to 16th at the start. Also a good start for Alex Johnson, so it can't have been Johnson that I saw getting involved at Rich's corner, because Johnson has moved into 11th place from 16th on the grid. So for every loser, there is a winner, I suppose. For every car that goes off, there's another that's able to gain a place, and quite a lot of those that were out of position, as we said, on the grid, have been able to work their way through. At the front of the field, though, Damien, still this fascination between Luke Browning and Alex Palau. Palau will be a bit disappointed that he didn't get a chance to get Browning off the line there, but his pace should be good enough, I think, to allow him to stay with Browning here and give Luke something to really think about on the restart.
Yeah, it's 1-0 to Browning in terms of head-to-head in this race, but I think Palau's going to have every opportunity to try and level that particular score up as the race goes on. Something else exciting, we've not seen an awful lot of Mackenzie Cresswell so far right at the very front. He's obviously done a really good job at Donington Park in the two races, brought some points away. This is really his chance to get on the podium, maybe get the win if these two start squabbling. So big possibility here for Cresswell to get a good result. And Frederick Lubin up 4 spots on the opening lap into P4, started 8th on the grid. Every chance he might be walking away with his first virtual silverware of the season.
Yeah, Mackenzie Cresswell was 7th in the first race. 7th in the points, excuse me, isn't he, coming into this weekend? But he wasn't inside the top 10 overall in either of the races at Donington Park. Scored within his class, which is the pro class, but we, as you said, haven't yet really had a chance to see how he stacks up against the regular front runners, people like Luke Browning, for example. But Mackenzie, who has signed with JHR Developments for the 2021 British Formula 4 Championship, is a former karter at the junior Rotax domestic and international level, and is clearly translating that karting ability pretty well into his sim racing here, and I'm sure will continue to do so when he steps into a real Formula 4 car this year. There is Mackenzie running in third position. Right behind him, Frederick Lubin, who picked up 4 positions at the start. That kind of escaped my notice, I think forgivably, because there was quite a lot going on behind him. But Fred Lubin, 8th on the grid, up into 4th. So he's the biggest mover within the top 10. And that forward momentum, he'll be hoping now to continue throughout the rest of the race. And again, based on what we saw from his brief stint at the front of the field at Donington a week ago, he's got pace as well.
Yeah, and Frederick's a very patient driver. We saw that both virtually and in real life in British F4 last year. So I certainly don't think, unless Lopez and Askey force the issue behind, he'll be in any way inclined to start sending people on the first lap after the restart. I think he'll just wait, just suss out what the 3 ahead are doing, get in the slipstream, keep himself in the battle. You know, the race is not won in minute 6 or 7 of 20, and Frederick will know that. Lights out on the safety car, though, Andy. I think we're getting ready for a restart.
Yeah, we're about half a lap away, aren't we? We're just going through Agostini now on the infield, one of the tighter corners on the track. And, I jumped out of my seat then because I thought Luke Browning had hit the safety car, and then I realised that in this virtual world that's not actually possible, which is possibly for the best. So Luke Browning, I think maybe he's trying to tell the safety car to go a bit quicker, because there is an art to keeping tyre temperature up whilst going slowly behind the safety car. Obviously, the slower the car is going, the cooler the tyres will become. And I think Luke Browning, now that he knows the race is restarting at the end of this lap, he wants the pace to be picked up a little bit, but he's not allowed to overtake the safety car. That will get him in trouble. So he's just trying to send a message to the safety car driver in a suitably subtle way for a racing driver that maybe the pace ought to be picked up. But we're not that far away from Luke Browning essentially becoming the pace car when the safety car pulls way into the pit lane, and then it's down to Browning to dictate when and how the race restarts. So Browning leads the way then, Palau's second, both class leaders, remember, Browning leading the pro class, Palau the pro sim class, with Mackenzie Creswell and Frederick Lubin third and fourth, both within the pro class as well. So their fight really is not with Palau, it's with Browning. They need to try and get past the Fordzilla car to attack Luke Browning, the race leader. Then in fifth position, Pablo Lopez, second in the pro sim class. Kyaski has moved up well into, or in fact, has held position, I should say. Started sixth, he is still in sixth position, fourth within the pro class. Then Ashley Beard, Leon Penn, Georgi Dimitrov, and Kevin Zemstra round out the top 10. And it's the top 10 who will score points at the end of the race. Remember, 25 points for a win, 18 for second, 15 for third, and then 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1 through the rest of the top 10.
Now, how does Browning play this, Andy, coming up to the restart? Does he try and bunch them all up, knowing that that might give more of them a chance to get a toe and overtake him, or is he going to go early and leave them all to sort it out behind him?
Well, at the moment, certainly bunching them up, isn't he? You can see the pace has really dropped now. He's trying to just time this perfectly. We're going through Coram now, so this is not the last corner, but he can accelerate before the last corner if he wants to. Slows it down, weaves around, just trying to make out that he's not going to accelerate anytime soon. He's just minding his own business, warming the tyres, still hasn't gone. So it looks like he's definitely going for the back them all up and accelerate out of the final corner approach, which is exactly what he does. He floors the throttle and heads out of Murray's corner back into green flag racing conditions. We're nearly halfway through this third round of the championship, and Luke Browning did not really get a great restart, actually. Palau has very much gone with him, look, in the slipstream, and Mackenzie Cresswell as well. So it's a three-car breakaway heading through Riches. Cresswell is a bit wide in third position there. That loses him some ground, and it releases some of the pressure from Palau here. He doesn't have to watch his mirrors now. He can focus 100% of his attentions onto the gearbox of the car in front, that of Luke Browning, the race leader. All cleanly through the first couple of corners this time, with one exception. I can see James Headley is dropping down the timing screen on the left-hand side of your screen, and everyone else, Damien, thankfully keeps it on the black stuff this time.
Yeah, and Frederick Lubin here defending from Pablo Lopez, current championship leader in the Pro Sim class. So Pablo trying to get a move on, perhaps fancies trying to climb his way through the order to the back of Palau, his teammate, and get another victory in class. But Frederick placing the car in the right places, as we said during the in the safety car stoppage. And as you've said, breakaway to Browning and Palau. Now they're going to turn onto the Bentley straight for the first time in anger, if you like, this time, Andy. And it'll be interesting to see what effect that toe has. I can see the gap on the left-hand side coming down, down, down between Browning and Palau, but I don't think it's close enough on this this lap for him to be able to have a go at the race leader.
Well, Browning has more than doubled his advantage over Palau. At the start of the lap, it was about 3/10, and by the time they got onto the Bentley straight, it was up near 8/10 of a second, and that is what's made the difference. If Palau had gone onto the Bentley straight just 3/10 behind Browning, he probably could have used that slipstream to attack, but Browning was mega through the middle sector and has been able to build a bit of a cushion. Let's see if that continues to be the case as we move now into the second half of the race. There's Browning then, leads across the line, Palau second, Cresswell third, top three pretty evenly spaced out. The real battle is developing for fourth with, Browning with a wheel on the grass there as he turns into Riches. That's not ideal. There is the fight for fourth. It's Frederick Lubin, Pablo Lopez, and Kyaski. Three cars absolutely tied together, and Lopez there thinking about having a go at the inside of Lubin. He wasn't quite close enough, but Lubin runs a bit wide there in the number 25 car, and Pablo Lopez is looking racy here. He can see the top three getting away, and he knows that Fred Lubin is at the moment holding him up. Out of Palmer's, down to Agostini, Lopez on the attack.
Yeah, you talk about patience as well. Kyaski sitting behind these two. You get the sense just sizing this battle up, just picking his moment when he wants to get involved. He's well within slipstream territory. I don't think there's any danger of them pulling away from him. And Lopez perhaps getting a little bit frustrated, stuck behind Lubin. You can just see him into the braking zone, just showing his nose, just trying to see if there's half an opportunity to get up alongside and take that fourth position in the race away from him. But of course, passing Lubin wouldn't gain Pablo Lopez any extra points at this point. He's second in class Alex Palau is the next car ahead of him that he's fighting in terms of points. But he's going to have a look at Lubin here, coming under the bridge.
Oh, yeah, goes to the outside through Brundle. That gives him the inside for Nelson, and that
Excellent
is textbook stuff there. Brilliant stuff from Pablo Lopez. He's got the inside for the bomb hole, and Lubin is on the dirty side of the road. He could lose another place now to Kayaski, and that would cost Lubin some points because both Lubin and Aski are running in the pro class. So whilst it didn't matter too much to Frederick Lubin whether or not he let Lopez through, the next place that he could potentially lose would be significant, but Lopez is slow out of Murray's, and Lubin is back alongside him as well. Aski has a run on the pair of them. He's almost pushing Lubin down the straight. I think he is, isn't he? Bump drafting in Formula 3 cars, that is something you don't see that often, and it's Lubin that goes back through into fourth place. Almost a bit of contact between Lopez and Aski, who now finds himself on the wrong side of the road going into the Wilson hairpin. Can't go around the outside of Lopez. He slots back in behind, and well, he might, because not far behind them now is Leon Penn in the number 31 car. This is about to become a four-way battle, and Frederick Lubin was not going to wait around there. When he was given the opportunity to get back alongside Lopez, he grasped it with both hands.
Yeah, that all kicked off when Lopez just dipped his right-hand wheels onto the dirt on the exit of the last corner. Just gave the Arden driver Lubin a chance to get back alongside him, and as we saw, Kayaski giving him a little bit of help down the straight, just managed to get Lubin back in front. I thought Kayaski was going to go for it around the outside of the hairpin, but just thought better of it. Slots back in behind Lopez. I'm sure he'll get another chance a little bit later on.
And Matthew Reese, by the way, has just been off the road. He's off again, in fact, down in 25th. So the debutant not having a brilliant first race in the F4 iRacing trophy. But the action at the front of the field is very, very hot indeed. Lubin 4th, Lopez 5th, Aski 6th, Penn in 7th. Side by side further back, meanwhile, as they go through Brundle and Nelson. That's David Castilla and Callum Brandt side by side for 13th. Castilla going through then ahead of Brandt, and behind them is Silas Cragg Vrolic as well. So three cars all within the Pro Sim category, so this is a fight for position. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th within the Pro Sim category, so it's worth a few points this, and definitely close competition between the 3 or 4 of them. Likewise, this ongoing fight between Lubin, Lopez and Aski, they're really starting to hold each other up now, though, aren't they? The leading trio have pulled quite a gap now, about 2.5 seconds between Cresswell in 3rd and Lubin in 4th, who still is watching his mirrors, unable to get away from Lopez.
Yeah, Lopez just shadowing Lubin's every move at the moment, trying to see if there's another opportunity to get back past. He'll be annoyed about that little off at the last corner. Absolutely fractional, but fine margins can be the deciding factor here. He has another look at the inside coming out of Agostini, but Lubin comes across, covers the line, so he'll slot in now on the run through Hamilton. I think now Lopez's best shot is to try and set himself up for that slipstream down the back straight.
Yeah, that's what he did the first time, wasn't it? Got the toe down the Bentley straight, put himself on the right-hand side of the road. Will he do the same thing again, or will Frederick Lubin be wise to it? Well, Lubin's better out of Williams. He carries more speed onto the straight. Looking back from the 4th place car now, Frederick Lubin at Pablo Lopez, who now is starting to inch back towards him in the slipstream, but that slightly slow exit from the previous corner has scuppered any chance that he had of overtaking on this occasion. And of course, he is still watching his mirrors because Kayaski is waiting ever patiently in 6th position. I suppose Kai might be a little bit more circumspect about this, having had that netcode issue at Donington when he was dicing for 2nd place with Alex Palau. He might just think twice about getting absolutely wheel to wheel with another car, and that might be part of this slightly more cautious approach we're seeing from him this time around. He's still there in 6th place though, still on for good points, 4th within the pro class, which is being led, as is the overall race still, by Luke Browning out in front. Bad run through riches there for Lubin. We cut away just as things were kicking off. Round the outside goes Lopez. This is for 4th position, remember. Lopez tries to stand his ground, but just can't quite get there. There are a few little mistakes creeping in here from Frederick Lubin, but he knows where to place the car, doesn't he, to keep the car behind him from taking advantage of that mistake and moving through.
Yeah, textbook defensive driving there from Lubin. He's, like you say, there's a few little moments here where you think Lopez is going to be able to have a run at him, but he covers them off, so doing excellently. To go back to your point about Kayaski, he's got 2 ways of playing this. You're right, netcode at Donington undoubtedly robbed him of a podium finish, but Frederick Lubin is a podium in class, so if he can get past Lopez, that gives him a clear shot at breaking into the top 3 and getting a few more points. But equally, 4th is a good place to be. He'll be in front of those cars for the reverse grid race. do you just take the points while you can get them? Now, Lopez, I think, Andy, is in the slipstream of Lubin again. Might be able to have another go here.
Yeah, much closer this time than he was a lap ago, but he couldn't quite get alongside, or can he? He goes around the outside at Nelson, and that doesn't work, and this is Kai Aski's chance. Aski with a much better exit from Nelson. Again, did not need a second invitation there to get up the inside of Pablo Lopez, who I think was getting a bit frustrated, wasn't he? He'd been sat behind Lubin for a good 6 minutes or so, 6 or 7 minutes now, since the restart, not able to find a way through. And in the end, he went for a move that was never really on. It put him on the dirty side of the road, and Aski was able to seize the opportunity. Now, can Kai Aski keep him behind, though? There's the Fordzilla car, and it's trying everything to get alongside into Rich's corner, but Aski fends him off. And now we do have the 3rd and 4th place pro cars together. Lubin 4th overall, Aski 5th overall, but that is, as Damien was saying, a battle for a class podium and a battle for class points. You get 15 points for finishing 3rd in class, you get 12 for finishing 4th. Those extra 3 championship points could prove to be very, very valuable, and I'm pretty sure that the Carlin driver is going to want to try and take them if he can.
Yeah, only a couple of minutes left in this race now, so it is really time for them to all get on with it if they're going to make a few moves. And what that little exchange did also do was bring Leon Penn and Georgi Dimitrov back into it as well. So we've now got 5 cars together on that bit of the road. But for Luke Browning, we haven't focused much on him this race. 3-second gap over Alex Palau. Barring any late mistakes, I think he's going to make it 3 for 3. And Mackenzie Cresswell looking a solid bet for a podium as well. So just over a minute to go. Pretty comfortable for the top 3 in the race. But behind them, I think there's a chance it could all still kick off.
Yeah, Browning has been kind of consistently half a second or so quicker each lap than Alex Palau in second, and Palau's had a similar advantage in pace over Mackenzie Creswell. So you're right, these 3 have really just been stroking at home ever since the restart, really. Browning has never really looked too much in doubt for the victory, but he's got to survive one more lap of the 3-mile Snetterton 300 circuit before he's crowned victor in the 3rd round of the series. Double winner from Donington, though, is looking very strong indeed. Now, further back, this is 7th place, Georgi Dimitrov, and the number 31 of Leon Penn. That was Dimitrov into 7th place now. Leon Penn under pressure coming off the corner from Alex Jonsson, who will try to get alongside him as well. Jonsson to the outside line, into Rich's corner. They're both closing back in on Dimitrov as well. Dimitrov comes out of the corner ahead, then it's Penn, then it's Jonsson, but Georgi Dimitrov continuing to impress here. That's 5 places gained from his starting position into 7th place now, and that is, 5th position within the pro class as well.
Yep, Dimitrov there getting another move done. He didn't need, strictly speaking, I suppose, to make that overtake. He's still scoring the same amount of points because obviously the points are based on class results, not the race outright, but you're always going to go for the move when it's there, aren't you? What's that famous, much-used quote about gaps and racing drivers? Good move by him, and yep, another place gained. But that will crucially mean he's behind another car for the reverse grid race later, but still in front of all the drivers he's trying to outscore. So good stuff from Dimitrov, and Luke Browning now starting his final sector of his final lap on his way to, you'd have to say, a pretty routine victory.
Yeah, he has made this look remarkably easy. Didn't get quite as good a start as Palau, but he had the advantage of pole position, the inside line for turn 1, and after the safety car restart, hasn't ever really looked back. He comes out of Coram Corner into Murray's for the final time, and Luke Browning is starting to make a bit of a habit of this. 3 races and 3 race victories for Luke Browning. He comes across the start-finish line to win round number 3 of the British Formula 4 iRacing Trophy here at Snetterton. 2nd place for Alex Palau, who backs up the podium performance that he had at Donington last time out. Mackenzie Creswell with his first podium in 3rd. Frederick Lubin 4th. Lopez 5th. Aski in 6th. Dimitrov will come home in 7th then. 8th place for Leon Penn. 9th Ashley Beard. And Kevin Zemstra rounds out the top 10. Fantastic racing, though, from particularly those further back down the top 10. For Luke Browning, it was, as Damien said, a fairly routine win, and he celebrates now with the victory donuts up at the Wilson hairpin. And we will have a chance very shortly to have a chat with our podium finishers. And Luke Browning will be very, very pleased, I think, with a 3rd placed finish. With a 3rd win of the year, not a 3rd place finish, a 3rd win of the year. Can he make it 4 from 4, though? Well, that might be altogether a little bit more difficult, because he'll be starting right from the back of the grid, won't he? Well outside the top 20, certainly, depending on exactly how many get reversed for the 2nd race. That race is only a few minutes away, so don't go anywhere, because we've got plenty more action coming your way here from the Snetterton 300 circuit. Worth reminding you as well that we have another 2 of these race nights still coming up. Next week, the 8th of February, the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit plays host to the championship, and then it's all decided, as is fitting, I think, of this championship, at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit on the 15th of February. So they're the dates for your diary. Same time, same place. Lots more racing action coming your way through this second season of racing. Lots more racing action still to come tonight with the reversed grid second race not too far away. Well, great win that, Damien, for Luke Browning. Alex Palau second, but I have to say, Mackenzie Cresswell, he didn't do much in that race, if you see what I mean. He started third, he ran third all on his own for most of the race, and he finished in third. But that is a real noteworthy performance, I think, still. Certainly the best we've seen of him so far this season, and he'll be really, really buoyed now, won't he, by that podium finish?
Yeah, absolutely. And it just reinforces what we were saying earlier about qualifying. You need to do well in qualifying to put yourself in the place to get the good results. And, Mackenzie Cresswell didn't have to do any overtaking, didn't have to do a lot of defending, to be honest, after the opening exchanges. But I think on the basis of his qualifying performance, you'd have to say a job well done and a first podium well deserved. Speaking of things well deserved, I believe Luke Browning is in the interview waiting room. So if we can bring him in, then we'll have a chat to the man who made it 3 from 3 to kick off the British F4 iRacing Trophy Season 2.0. And Luke, it's Damien up in the commentary box, and that seemed pretty straightforward from your point of view.
Yeah, I got a pretty clean getaway, and then pretty clean safety car restart, and from then on it was, I was talking to my teammate Alex the whole way through it, and it was a pretty chill race for us both, I think.
And were you expecting it to be as straightforward as it looked? We were sitting before the race predicting, that there was going to be a fantastic tow and lots of overtaking and late braking and defensive moves. And I think the closest any other car got to in that race was the safety car on the restart. So was that what you were expecting?
I knew my pace was going to be good. In practice and stuff with the team, I felt pretty strong. But it's just such fine margins out here at the moment. So yeah, just to be able to just pull away from Alex it felt good.
And just lastly, to wrap up, 3 from 3 for you now. First of all, that must be great. But second of all, another reverse grid race now, and we saw at the start of that race how much carnage there can be. What's the Luke Browning master plan for navigating that one?
That'll be salvage as many points as possible. I doubt I'll get as lucky as last time. Although it can definitely happen. I hope for not another safety car in a way, just because it seemed to be. It just took too long, I think we wasted like 6-7 minutes out of the session because of the safety car. It would have been. Plus, it got all our tyres really cold because we were rolling around, and the way iRacing tyre model works, when you're rolling, it's like in real life, I guess. When you're rolling around and you can't get any temp in them, they become really, really slippy. So it was like doing an outlap again. But no, it felt good. And I'm looking forward to the next race, and this is where the fun starts.
Yeah, well, I think we can all agree the fewer safety cars, the better. So. Luke Browning, the winner of the first race tonight, and I think Andy is going to have a chat to our second place man, Alex Palau.
Yeah, thank you very much, Damien. Congratulations, Luke, on yet another race victory. But chasing him hard all the way was Alex Palau, who gets his second podium from 3 races. Remember, he was third in the first race at Donington Park a week ago. And this time around, Alex, it's one step further up the podium, second place, and another Pro Sim class win. Not a bad start to the evening.
Hey, Andy. No, not too bad. But man, I'm just wondering what is Luke doing on the track. I don't know if he's cutting something or not. There was no way to follow him, not even for one lap. So, it was a good result. Good result for the team. Good for the championship. But man, I don't know what Luke is doing. Come on.
Well, he's really quick, isn't he? I mean, that's sort of news to no one, really. But you were quick off the line. You got a really good start. Do you think it would have been different if you'd have been able to get yourself ahead? How important is it to have that track position advantage?
Yeah, no, I don't think I can be as quick as he is. I don't think that he was pushing at the beginning. I think at the beginning I was able to keep up with his pace, but I think he just started pushing and he was like half a second quicker than us. So it's okay. It's okay. I think our pace was just to finish in the podium. We did it, so it's good. Some points, and hopefully now with reverse grid, the things are going to change. So it's going to be a good one.
Well, I reckon with that result, you've probably moved ahead of Pablo now as well for the Pro Sim Class Championship lead. But that could all change in race 2, couldn't it? This reversed grid race that we love as viewers because it produces lots of action and drama and incidents. But I'm sure it's a bit more stressful for you having to come through the field. You got as far as 7th place at Donington Park. Can you do better than that tonight?
Yeah, I think so. It all depends on the second corner. Let's see how many crashes are we gonna have there. Hopefully, we're gonna have no crashes. But yeah, I think we can come up a bit better. At Donington, I broke my front wing on the first lap, and that was like game over. But still managed to finish P7. So let's see today. Hopefully, I can still get more points from Pablo. Pablo is my teammate, but now we're fighting. So also look. So yeah, I need to put the fighter mode on and try and win all these guys.
Looking forward to seeing how that works out for you, Alex. Well done on the podium and best of luck for race 2.
You, Andy. Thank you.
Alex Palau then, second place in the first race of the night here at Snetterton. I don't think we're going to have a chance to chat with Mackenzie Cresswell. He is busy preparing for the second race, which we're going to have to do as well. We're going to take a quick break now, step away just for a minute or two whilst we load into the next server, and we will be back in just a few minutes' time with all of the action, and I think there'll be lots of it from the second race of the night, the 4th round of the British Formula 4 iRacing Trophy.
rallied a match. And you'll see the 2 filters right ahead of you. Take a selfie, you're ready to race.
We are over.